So today we're doing chapter 11. I'm the driver, like as my navigator. We're building our own analytic, and then we will have to create the main container within our HTML, and then we will add our we'll add we'll add 4 elements inside the main element, and each will have a class of box, and then we'll set up a JavaScript code which will contain an array that is tracking the details from each click that we make, and then we'll select a container. We'll select main container as our variable object in our code, and then we'll add an event listener to capture clicks on the element, and then we'll create a function to handle the clicks, and then we'll check if the element has an ID so that we don't track clicks on the main container, and then we'll set up an object to track the values including text content, ID, tag name and class name, and then we'll add our temporary object that we created on top into our tracking array, and then we'll output the values captured in our tracking array into console to see the results. And then that's what we did here. We said let counter equals to an empty it's an empty container, and then we created a main element with document.query selector container, and then we said main.add event listener for a click button which will track all the clicks that we'll make, and then we created a function to track, and then we said we used an if statement here. If element.id, we created a temporary container, and then on this temporary we had to like look for content, we had to look for ID, tag name, class name, and then we consoled our element, and then we pushed our temporary counter. So we're just gonna go straight to we're gonna refresh our console, and then we're gonna go straight to the next project, the star rating system, and then I'm just gonna have to like doing our star rating system. We were given an HTML page that we can use, and then they said select all the stars within the UL that have a class of stars into an object, and create another object for the output element. Create another object to contain the results of calling query selector or elements with a class of star. Loop through the resulting node list, adding to the element object the value of index +1, and adding in, just gonna go to our code. We said let stars UL was to document.query selector stars, and then we also did our output document query selector output, and then we did for star document.query selector off, and then a star for each. We said star and then an index, and then we say star value was to index +1, and then we say star.add event listener, and then click star rate, and then we created a function called star rate, and then we said output inner HTML, and then we have this settings here. You have rated this, which we'll see when we click on star, and then star for each star index, and then we said if index is less than an element target, the star value star class list must add orange, or else star class list must remove orange. And then we're gonna go to our console and see if everything will run accordingly. So every time we click our star, it must turn orange, and then we have a message: you rated this 1 star, you rated this second star, third, fourth. Continuing with our chapter 11, chapter projects. So we are going to mouse position tracker. They said create a page element and add sizing to it, including height, width. Create a class style named active that has a background color property of red. Finally, create an output element that will contain your text. And then that's what we did. We said let element was to document the query selector holder. And then they said um, and they said select the element, select the main container element and add event listener to it. Listen for mouse over, mouse out, and mouse move. And then we said element dot event listener mouse over, and then we, we said we added the active button, the active here class dot list add, and then we add event listener for mouse out. We did the same thing as we did on the mouse over, and then we did for we add an event listener for mouse over. And then they said on mouse over add the active class, and on mouse out remove the active class. So on the mouse over we are adding the active class, and then um, actually that's what we were doing here. We were adding the active class on the mouse out, and then on the on the mouse over, and then on the mouse out we were just removing it. And then they said on mouse call a function that tracks the event element client X and client Y position, embeds them, embed them in human readable settings, and output it into the element. So we created a function called coding, and then we said let HTML I was to else, and then a plus event dot client. So this for us to be able to read these settings. And then we ended up by saying document dot get element by id output dot inner html. And then it's showing that the output div of inner html will be updated depending on the position of the mouse. So we're gonna run this code and see if it will run on the console. There it is, it's running. um, Next project is box clicker speed test game. And then they say the objective here is to click on the red box as quickly as possible once it appears. The box will be randomly placed within a container and positioned with random values. The box will have an event listener that will track the start and click times to calculate the duration of the click event. You can use the following template, as HTML gets a little complex here. Just add script element to make the HTML interactive. So they gave us the HTML template, and then they say there are two divs elements, one with class of output for the gameplay area, and another one with a class of message to provide instruction to the player. Select those main elements as object using JavaScript. So we said output it was to the element query select star. We selected our output, and then we said we also selected the message, and then we said message dot text content it was to press to start. And then they said using JavaScript create another element within the output element and create a div that will be a main clickable object. Attach a style called box to the new element and append it into the output element. And then we said let box, it was to document. We said let game, it was to timer starting from zero, and then a timer is zero, and then a start is null. And then here, um, and then we said box dot class list dot add, and then we made the function of box, and then we output dot append box, and then we said box dot add event listener click. So we are activating the click button, and then we said we iterated, and then we said box the text content, and it equals to an empty array, and then box dot style dot display none, and then uh, game dot timer, it was to set time out at box, and then random number we use 3000, and then we said uh, if game is not starting, if the game is not yet started, our message should be loading, or else let um, our new date and time, which is uh, which will give us the current time. Hey, can you help here? Um,
Current time 9:30, 1:38.
yeah, like 136.
Or from 136. Okay, so go up to the beginning of the if statement, yeah. So you see
Yeah,
on
here.
line 133, see on line 133.
Yes.
So what happens is that if the game hasn't started, you see the start property
Yeah.
of the game object. Remember, we set it as null.
Yeah.
So that means if it's null, right,
Uh-huh.
we are going to update the text content to loading,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And then if it's not null, that's why we have else. If it's not null, we are going to create these variables there, which is current, where we get we use the date method to get the time. And then we have duration, where we basically use, so when we're creating duration, we are subtracting the start
Uh,
from current, you understand?
uh,
Because remember, the start is not null. So
yeah.
whatever time we have there in start, we subtract it from current.
Uh,
Current is what we created. So we get the time now, and then we subtract it by the time when we started. So it tells us the difference
uh,
between. So that's when you click on the box. It tells us how long it took you to click on the box. So
yeah.
when the game started and when you clicked on the box, that difference. And then we divide by 1,000 because it's in milliseconds. When you divide by 1,000, you convert it to seconds.
Okay.
And
Okay.
then there you update on line 140, you
Yeah.
update the text content to take that variable there that we created, the one I just explained, and
Yeah.
you put it in a string to say it took this many seconds to click. So you understand?
Okay. Okay. And then after that, we created a function. We called it add box, and then a message will be click it, and then the game will start, and then box dot style dot display it's block, and then on the left it's random number 450 plus px, and then on the top is random number 50 plus px, and then we created a function for random number maximum, and then which must return method flow into method random multiplied by the maximum, and then a random number um, um, run until the maximum is passed. So we're gonna run and see if we did the right code. Gonna press it and wait, and then it's showing